it was quite a long while after that. He to translate some Hujja, the articles that had come with the ancestors of our horses, had come over from Arabia. And we got to know him and his family and several other families that were in the Denver Ummah. And then after that, we decided we would go on a discovery trip for Arabian horses to the Middle East. Now, over those 2 years, we were reading the Quran, we were learning, we were entertaining Muslims in our home, we had learned the dietary restrictions and how to comply with them and this sort of thing. But most of our social life had slowly transferred from being with a lot of Americans to being with a lot of mainly immigrant Muslims.
So decided to become a Muslim. What was the reaction of your community, your family?
We went overseas. We both said Shahada overseas. When we came back, I guess while we were overseas, we had made the decision. We traveled with another historian, and she was a Christian and still is. But while we were overseas, we dressed in a fashion not to offend anyone.
Right.
So we were wearing long skirts and covering our hair with scarves. And that was an important part of sort of learning about the culture. And so when we came back, we had to decide how we were going to handle things. In fact, I remember that we got on the plane, and once we were on the plane, my friend took off her scarf and put it in her purse, and she said, "We're on the plane, you can take it off." And I said, "I don't think so. I think I'm just going to continue to wear it and see how it goes." So when we came back, I was dressing differently, which was noticed by this tiny farming community that we lived in. I think at that time, Kiowa had about 249 people, I think the sign said when you came into town. So it was a tiny community. Some people were just thinking that I was wearing the clothes because I had just come back from the trip. I guess in general, people were, it's just, they knew me, so it's just Deb, it's just, but others were, I had one friend who called and said, "I can't be your friend anymore. Those clothes make my skin crawl."
Wow.
So some, and a lot, I just continued to do my horses and to do the things that I needed to do there.
Right. You didn't really put too much attention about the positive or the negatives that.
Yeah, there was a minister in town who would not look at me, he would not greet me. I went into the post office and he was coming out, and I said, "Hello," and he just,
Wow.
I mean, it was very pointed.
Yes. Did this affect your business, like your line of work?
Not so much for me, because there were some people who made negative comments, but I was involved with the Arabian horse. And I was writing articles, and some people were uncomfortable. It may have cost us some sales. I don't, there's no way to know. But most people were, "Whoa, that's different."
Right. Okay. After you did become Muslim. Of course, you travel overseas. You said that, and did you change your mind totally about what you have learned before traveling? Your mind changed completely about Muslims and Islam and the Islamic countries?
You know, no. I didn't know what to expect when I traveled the first time overseas, and I hadn't really, I guess I didn't have a preconceived idea other than the Muslims that we had met and become friends with. So, no, it didn't really change my perspective that way. It did change my perspective in watching and hearing that as an American, I realized I had been overlooking. Such as your, what movies do you think of when you think of a Christmas movie? All right. Do you include Home Alone? You know, now I was selecting movies for young Muslim children that were around me, and I'm going, well, now wait a minute. Home Alone has all the Christmas background. 1, 2, and 3 have Christmas background. Yeah, you know, I mean, there's just, for that matter, the movie Die Hard, which it has a Christmas background. It's not appropriate for children anyway, but you just, I never even thought of those movies as being Christian related or anything like that, that they were carrying a subtle message in there. Only later did I go, oh yeah, you know, that's, there's all of this that we don't really think of. I mean, it's not Rudolph, you know.
Yes. But they included into the
Yes, it is.
Okay. Islamically, all things are beautiful, right? Allah has made perfect things. Everything happens for a reason. But why? Which ideas did you impress you the most? Like, what is that after you became Muslim? You think, wow, I didn't really felt it that way. Is there anything you can think of?
I think everything impressed me the most. Just adjusting to dealing with things in a little different way, to realizing that you always need a contract, to, you know, these sorts of things. As I grew up, there was a handshake was your bond. And there was emphasis put on that you had to honor that, but also that that was something that you honor in everyone else and anticipate honoring. And so to draw up a contract was sort of, well, does that mean handshake isn't your bond anymore? When I entered Islam, it put a whole different focus on contract, and it took it out of that realm. And that was very nice.
Okay. What is your opinion about the Islamic world these days? Like, what are the problems? Do you think there's a solution?
Do we have 5 hours?
I know, it's a long time. Like,
There's huge problems, both overseas and here. But there's also huge beauty, both overseas and here. We have a lot of countries that are presented as being Islamic countries, but none that meet that standard. And people get they become misinformed, not only by our media here, which is a problem, but by that whole concept that this is a Muslim country. Just because a country has many wonderful Muslim people in it doesn't mean that the acts of that government are going to be in line with what Islam allows. And so that is one of the problems that really generates both from there and from here.